Welcome to the Culinary Treasure Podcast. I'm Steven Shomler, your host. I am so excited. Find myself today at Erath Winery's amazing tasting room here in Portland, Oregon. You're going to hear the story of how they came to have a tasting room in Portland, Oregon. But, I first visited your tasting room. Now, this is spring. We're recording this podcast, spring of 2021. And I first visited in fall of 2020. You were heroically just getting open. I did a podcast with the head winemaker here at Erath, here in this space. And he's wonderful. And I loved him and I loved his wine. But Jennifer Willis is my guest. I'll introduce her. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi.
So I just have to say, as much as I love that podcast, I love talking wine. And, when I love this space, it's so beautiful. And I quickly realized that you are the tasting room manager, but more importantly, you're the champion of this space. It is phenomenal. It's kind of like it's your baby, we'll tell the story. But to me, to get to tell your story, loving the space and telling your story, because you're the champion that kind of in my head, at least, this is my version of reality, and that's okay. You're the kind of one that made it all happen. Not all of it, but I mean a lot of it. It's just phenomenal. Okay, well, let's get into the podcast questions. Ask everyone on my podcast. Where were you born?
I was born in Havre de Grace, Maryland.
Havre de Grace, Maryland. Oh, that sounds like a pretty cool name. And where'd you go to high school?
C. Moulton Wright High School. It's in Bel Air, Maryland.
Bel Air, Maryland. Okay. And then you have a really interesting, you love wine.
I do.
And you love being a wine professional. I don't know if that's a thing. I made it up, but you work full-time in wine. You absolutely love it. And it just kind of effervesces out of you, your joy for that. But before that, your journey to the Northwest, I just feel like our path always prepares us. And there's little things along the way that we don't realize that are kind of, get laid down and we just don't expect. And one of them is you had a childhood friend named Ronnie that you met like middle school.
Yes.
And one of the things his family did was they sold wine. And if I understand correctly, one of the senses you kind of got is they really enjoyed life.
They did. Yeah, they were an amazing family. Their daughter and I are the same age, so this was the father who owned this beverage warehouse there in Bel Air, Maryland, and they had a passion for life, and I admired everything they did. The dinner parties that they threw, the ski vacations that they took, as a child looking up, like they were doing it right.
And part of that is you connected your love of wine. You had some kind of connection. Wine in your head was part of that love of life and living a great life, right?
They had lots of wine flowing at all those dinner parties. And so, yes, that to me said those two really go together. Okay,
so that's one of the, I'm just going to lay that down. That's a little path. And then our little, one of those things that later kind of comes back around. And then you majored in what, outdoor recreation?
I did, outdoor recreation. I started at nursing and quickly realized not the best fit there. So I discovered outdoor recreation, but I was at the University of Delaware, and outdoor recreation and Delaware aren't usually two things that go hand in hand, but I fell in love with it.
I do love me some blue hens. I only know that because of the NCAA tournament. Okay, and then another little thing that kind of just, we're going to lay this down that's really amazing. So who was your college roommate?
My friend Nicole.
Friend Nicole, okay. So you graduate, outdoor recreation, and you end up coming to the Northwest.
I did. It was part of my undergraduate internship. I went to a place up in Randall, Washington. It's actually 15 miles south of Randall, Washington, called Cispus Learning Center.
Yeah, so I have spent a lot of time in my journey. We don't need to talk about why or how, but driving up Highway 12.
Yes.
And so I know that Slippery Stone is what the locals call Mossy Rock.
Yeah.
And then you drive through Morton.
Yeah.
And then you get to Randall.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you keep going, you get to Packwood.
Yep.
And then when the snow hits, you don't go anywhere past Packwood.
You go up to the ski resort, White Pass.
White Pass. But eventually it gets to you, because you can drive all the way through. You can go down through Rimrock, and you can go all the way down into, is it Natchez, right?
Natchez, yeah.
Natchez, and then down into Yakima.
Correct.
But when it's really bad snow, that road's closed, right?
They keep it open a good part of the year.
Okay, I don't know why I got that in my head. All right. And I've been up to Randall, and I've been to the Cispus Learning Center, and this is kind of a weird part of my journey, but one summer I helped a friend out at Mount Hood, and I was a ropes course instructor. And it was amazing. And it kind of blew my mind. I got all this training, and I'm belaying these kids. Like, if I let go, I think they'll die. And it was kind of scary, but kind of fun. And so that's one of the things you did.
Yeah, I did that for quite some time, both low and high course, working on team development and self-confidence, skill development. It was a great time.
And one of the things you're, in my opinion, having done just a smidgen of that, nothing like you did, and definitely not, I would have done much better with, some actual schooling in it. But you're kind of an educator, because there's a lot of life lessons you learn. You can weave those in. You're kind of an entertainer and a host. You're kind of keeping people going. And that seems like maybe that's really, actually, as crazy sounds, really good preparation for being a tasting room manager.
I have been able to utilize those skills more than I ever thought.
So you came out to Randall, to Cispus Learning Center to the Northwest, first time in your life, from the East Coast. Did you, what happened? Did you fall in love?
The Northwest is just, it's gorgeous, and it just spoke to me. I could not keep myself from it. I took a little bit of a pause and went down to California and went to grad school, still for outdoor recreation, but the Northwest just kept calling me back. So back up I went into Washington.
So you went to Chico State.
I did.
Got your master's, then you went right back up to Washington.
Right back up.
And then you kind of, the way geography works is you kind of just worked your way over the top of Highway 12 up to White Pass.
Yes.
And then back down the other side, and you ended up finding yourself in Yakima.
I did.
And then and we're kind of short-circuiting a little bit some of your story, some of your close friends, like, what about that part? But then you had what I would consider an intense but really informative misadventure. You decided to work at an accounting firm.
I did. Outdoor recreation, while an amazing field to work within, it isn't always a steady job. So I thought, well, it's time to grow up and be responsible. I took some time, went back to school again, finished up a degree in accounting, and went to work for a CPA firm. It just didn't stick. It wasn't the right environment for me, and opportunity presented itself to once again shift gears.
Well, before we get to that, so what was one of the core values at that accounting firm?
So it was interesting. They had these pillars that they stood for, and one of them was passion. And I can distinctly remember, after being there just about a year, rereading these core pillars and reading this passion and thinking, I'm not passionate about this. I'm not at all passionate about what I'm doing. Is this what I really want to do as a career? Is this really where I want to go?
So them asking that question kind of began you thinking. Now, tell me if I'm right, this is 2009.
Yes.
So let's go back a couple years in time. We'll get into our TARDIS and head back a couple years in time. And your friend Ronnie from the East Coast ended up being in Yakima.
He was out touring wineries.
Yeah, and you were with White Pass or Cispus Learning Center.
I was at White Pass at the time.
Yeah, and so hey, let's get together, let's see each other. That's fantastic. My dear friend, I went to high school with, Patsy Sherman. Her husband, he grew up in San Diego area, and his passionate thing, he's never lived in Portland, is the Portland Timbers. He loves the Portland Timbers. So they fly up for a game every year. It's kind of a fun story. And so I remember I hadn't seen Patsy in many, many, many years since high school. And she was in Portland. We got to see her. It was so great. I got to meet her awesome husband. Okay, so you and Ronnie are going to catch up, old times, meet him in Yakima. And where did you guys happen to meet for a glass of wine?
He invited me to join him while he was visiting the Hogue Cellars, which is in Prosser, Washington. So I met him there, and it was a bit of an educational trip for him. But a real educational trip for me. We were hosted. There was a big educational session. There was lunch that was involved, and I was wowed and blown away, and thought, this is such an amazing thing. I didn't even realize there was wine country right outside my back door. Just keep going east a little bit further, Jennifer, and look at what's here.
And you'd had wine in your journey before that.
I had.
But it hadn't really stuck as a thing. But that event at Hogue Cellars with your friend, kind of like just you discovered you had a passion for wine, and you really kind of began a journey of learning about it and enjoying it. Is that right?
I did. It was, if you believe it, I picked up Wine for Dummies, started to work my way through this book, and tried a bunch of different wines to start my own education.
I think that's brilliant. And I'd encourage people, there's a lot of good books out there, Wine Folly, Wine Made Simple. And if you don't know wine, that's the thing to do for me, I love reading. I love books. I love real books. Order the book, get some wine, just start having fun with it. Okay, so that's before 2009. So 2009, you're at the accounting firm, and you discover this really isn't my passion. And then you end up interviewing a job at where in 2010?
Hogue Cellars was hiring for what they called a visitor center manager, the manager of their tasting room and hospitality program. And I thought, no, that's something I could be passionate about. And
that was the place you'd been a few years earlier with Ronnie.
Yep.
And his family is the one that, it kind of put in your noggin that wine and the good life go together.
Yes.
And then you end up getting hired there.
Yes.
And did you love it?
I did. I really did enjoy my time there. I got to learn so much about wine. The professionals that I got to work with and come in contact with really set the stage for me for what working in the wine industry would be like.
Well, and that's the important thing for me is from that moment on, now you're like, okay, I found my people. I found my gig. I'm a wine professional. I want to work in the wine world, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you found another little love kind of along the way. Yakima, what did you say? I thought it was like a 6-hour drive, and you said no. If you kind of put the pedal to the metal, it's about 3.5 hours from Portland. Is that right?
It is. So I was reconnecting with, as it turns out, Ronnie's daughter, who had moved to the Portland area, and I was coming to visit her, and I noticed I was coming down just about every free weekend I could, and I would drive down, and I thought, I never saw myself in a big city, but I come here all the time. I just do it. And
now, but somewhere when you're still living in Yakima, your friend Nicole had come out to visit you, right?
She had.
And she was the one that was your college roommate at University of Delaware.
Yes.
She comes from New York, and you say, hey, I want to show you everything that's beautiful in Yakima. No, you said, hey, I'll show you Portland. Is that right?
We took an opportunity to do a little road trip out to Oregon and the Oregon coast, and we stayed for a day in wine country, visiting a bunch of different wineries. And one of the wineries that we went to was Erath. And I can remember being there saying, this is probably the best winery, in my opinion, in this area. I'm loving the people. I'm loving the wine. Like, this is the right winery.
And did you not tell her if I could work here, that would be amazing?
I did tell her that.
Okay, and that's when you're still living in Yakima.
Yep.
Okay, and just because you mentioned, I love the Oregon coast, and it's unlike any other coastline that I've experienced in the United States. I'm told the northwest corner of Spain is kind of like, and I hope to go there, Vigo area, but I want to see that. But the Oregon coast, you've been on the eastern seaboard. Mm-hmm. It is kind of a different zone kind of beauty, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're comparing two different
Yeah, people don't understand.
vegetables.
I grew up in Southern California. We went to Laguna Beach almost every Friday for field trips in high school, which I didn't realize how crazy that was. So people that have been to warm beaches, this is not that.
Nope.
Bring a jacket. I don't care if it's July or August. Bring a jacket. It's still raining in July, anyways. But bring a jacket. But it is its own kind of beauty. You mentioned Oregon coast, so
Yeah.
so. That is interesting. So you told Nicole, yeah, boy, I love. If I could work here, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2009, you pulled the trigger and you moved to Portland.
I did.
And
I did.
what the heck kind of job did you get?
Well, I kind of reached back into my bag of tricks and got a job as a park ranger with the city of Portland. So back to some outdoor recreation.
So
for
a
me.
degree in outdoor recreation does pay off.
It does.
So there's hope. So if you have a degree in outdoor recreation, or I have a friend who has a degree in philosophy, good things can come from those. Okay, so you're a park ranger, and what were your duties?
I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. I moved to a brand new city for me. I get a city vehicle. I'm told to drive around to all the prettiest places, hike around, get some exercise, talk to the people. It almost seemed too good to be true.
And you decided to move to Portland because you loved it, but your goal is I'm going to get back into I'm going to stay in wine.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this was kind of a stopgap. I can get some income, I can pay some bills, I can have a base of operations, and fine. And you started applying for jobs.
I did. Several wineries down in the valley, which is just outside of Portland, and I couldn't believe it, but one day there in the advertisements is a position at Erath.
And did you apply?
I absolutely applied.
And then they said, come on down for an interview. And while you're driving to the interview, did you happen to think of what you told Nicole a few years earlier?
It was still kind of just almost mind-blowing. Like, I can't believe that this is the exact same place that Nicole and I visited, and I said, this would be perfect for me. And here I am interviewing for the perfect job.
Okay, so during the interview, did you have that moment where you realized, this is the job I want, this is perfect for me? Did that experience happen?
It was lining up just absolutely perfectly, yes.
And what about it? When you're sitting in the interview, what were I know some of it's kind of like, I'm an intuitive person, so I don't always know what I know. I just feel that it's right. But do you remember anything at that moment interview that were things that were speaking to you or appealing to you?
It just seemed, there was the intuition piece, but it also just seemed like every question I felt like I had the right answer for. The best way to say it, all the stars just lined up and everything was right about the job. It's
like a great first date where you just connect with someone.
Absolutely.
And you just know, okay, I feel like I've known you forever.
Absolutely. Everyone I interviewed with, it felt so comfortable and natural.
So what was it like when they called you and said, we want to hire you? Did you dance?
There's a little happy dance, yeah. There was a little happy dance.
That's fantastic. Okay, so you went to work for them in 2010.
Correct.
As the tasting room manager. And at the time, they had a tasting room down in Dundee. And then tell me if I have this right. Based on lots of research at wineries and paying attention when I'm not, too half-schnockered, it seems like I have the job description of a tasting room manager down. Tell me if I have this about right. I think tasting room managers are ambassadors for the brand. They're teachers teaching knuckleheads about wine. Some people know, some people don't. Then sometimes you guys get promotions to be like janitors or the bookkeeper. I mean, is that about right?
Yeah. I think the odd jobs is the best way to describe.
So what do you love best about being a tasting room manager? Because you absolutely love it. When you talk about it, you glow. If we had video, people could see that. It's very, very sincere and real. But what about that job speaks to you so much?
I think my favorite pieces are the team that I get to work with, who are also super passionate about wine and about sharing wine knowledge, and then the people who come in that are open to hearing that, and we love to share that passion. We love to share what we know. We want people to continue to grow in their wine journeys. Those are probably my favorite things, just the people that I get to spend that time with.
Well, and it sounds like that thing from 2009 at the accounting firm is come around full circle for you, that passion. Because I could say passion for the two things you said. One, the people that come in that love the wine. You love connecting with people that love wine, or people that are, I bet it's even more fun for you when you meet the people that are in the process of falling in love with wine. So you love that, right?
Yeah.
And then you it's very sincere. You love the team. You love working with a team of people who all have a passion for wine.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, that is a gift, because I've spent 20 years, 2 different careers in the corporate world, and both in the banking and nonprofit. And I've been around lots of people that work with teams of people that they don't share their passion. They don't love what they're doing. And it is a real bummer. And for you to have that as one of your joys, what a gift you have.
Yeah, I do feel very lucky.
Yeah, amazing. And I would love to work for you. I think you'd be a great boss. I think you'd be a bit demanding in the right ways. You could take care of your stuff. But I think, just getting to learn and be around people that love wine, what a great thing. I love it. All right. So the tasting room, here's my understanding of reality. So I'll be close to the right story. But if the story's not quite right, people should get after me, not you. I'm the one telling the story. So you have a tasting room down in Dundee. Long-term lease going to come to an end eventually. And you start looking all over. Where are you going to find a place? Where are you going to find a place? Where are you going to find a place? And then finally, February 2020, you guys find the building we're sitting in right now.
Yes. Yeah.
And you make it happen. And you walk into this building. It's empty. There's no tasting room here. April of 2020. And when did the tasting room open?
We opened in September.
So 5 months.
Yes.
5 months to whip this place into shape.
Yes.
And you were the one kind of in charge of making it happen.
Yes. Yeah, I had a lot of people help me out. It wasn't a sole project, but yes, this was a labor of love.
So what are some of the things you had to do that you'd never done before?
Well, I had opportunities of working with design teams and interior decorators, coordinating with contractors. I learned quite a bit about building codes and parking regulations, and that was all quite an eye-opener to me. Ordering furniture, that was a fun one. Things didn't come exactly as we had planned, but wow, when it all comes together.
Well, and here's the really insane part. You did this during a pandemic.
Yeah, that was timing that, made it all that much more interesting.
I tell you, they whatever they're paying you, they should have doubled it, because what you have made happen in that time frame under crazy conditions is absolutely incredible. When I first walked in to this space, it just struck me how beautiful it was, how comfortable. It's like, this is a place I want to have a glass of wine and a great conversation with someone I care about. It just felt warm and inviting, and the space really, really, truly did just blow my mind.
Oh, thank you.
And then so I know you had a lot to do with it, but you work with a particular firm, right?
Yeah, we worked with a great group of people out of a firm called BCRA, and they're very talented.
Yeah, but I know, having done a few of those kind of projects myself and having a hand in them, you're one of the people looking at that swatch or that paint chip and having a hand in what goes on here. Mm-hmm. Again, I just think Erath is so lucky to have you. So it's different to have an urban tasting room. So for 50 years, people, we're now in Portland, and you were happy to have people come from all over the world here.
Absolutely.
But down in Dundee, your biggest market was people from Portland, right? So for 50 years, people had to drive down to Dundee. And now you're like, hey, we're right here. Mm-hmm. We're right here. And then, of course, we have listeners all over the country and all over the world. And a lot of people fly into Portland, and they can come to a world-class winery while they're right here in Portland before they head off to wine country or head off to the Oregon coast.
It was a unique opportunity for us to get in front of a slightly different audience. And to your point, instead of making them come to us, we come to you.
Yeah, I love it. I just, it's a fun experience because you don't often get, a world-class winery and be able to have an urban tasting room experience like this. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So when people come here, what are some of the things? What will they experience when they show up?
Yeah, so the tasting room is really a place for us to teach people about our brand, teach people about wine. Wine flights are constantly going to be rotating so that there's a new experience and a reason to come back. Our flights are accompanied by pairing bites so that we just really punctuate the fact that wine is something that brings people together and something that is meant to be shared.
Okay, so you just skipped over something that cannot be missed. So when I was here September, October, I had this wine flight. The wine was incredible, no doubt about it, but then it was perfectly paired with these incredible cheeses, and there was even a vegan cheese that was amazing. And it was phenomenal. It was so much fun to have the wine and have the perfectly paired bites. And it's not just bites. It's like a feast for your senses. And then about once a quarter, roughly, give or take, the wines change and the pairings will change. And
Absolutely.
So now you have a whole different crazy, amazing little bites.
Yes. Yeah. The current flight is a vertical, so we're kind of doing an educational dive into the different vintages of wine here in Oregon, but same winemaker, same vineyard. And the pairing bites are all different. So we've partnered, I should say, with a local caterer who helped us come up with just these really sensational pairings.
And this is roughly spring 2020. We're recording this, and then I speculate this summer will be something different.
Absolutely.
And then fall maybe something different. And then it wouldn't surprise me, given your hostessing skills. I don't even know if that's a word, but there might have been some special Christmas pairing. Like I can't imagine. I just think my mind kind of goes, oh, what kind of cool cranberry thing would she do with wine, for the Christmas season?
Particularly with Pinot. Good
yeah,
idea.
I love the holiday season. It's just fun. I love the lights. I just love the lights and the warmth and all that. And then January comes, we take all the lights down. It's just cold. But that's the fun thing is, you come once, but then you can come back every quarter and things have switched up. The wine's a little different wine pairing. The food pairings, little bites are a little bit different. So I can come and have an amazing pairing. I can have a glass. If I find one I love, I can have a whole glass of that one right here while I'm visiting with friends.
Yes.
And let's see. And then I can take some wine home. I can buy some bottles and take it home. Is that allowed?
Absolutely. Bottle sales. We have a wine club that encourages people to continue to enjoy our wine and have it either shipped or picked up here.
No, wait a minute. You don't just have a wine club. You have a wine club with a really cool name.
Our Cellars Society.
I love that. I'm going to be a member of the Cellars Society. And then how does that work? I mean, some people know how wine clubs work. Some people, for those that don't, how does yours particularly work?
So you have an option to get either 3 bottles or 6 bottles at a time. We'll send those out 4 times a year. At the time of the release, you'll get a notice saying, hey, here are the wines that the winemaker's ready to release from the cellar. He says these are good to go. You can take those wines because they'll be newly released product and you're getting first access to them. Or you could take a look at your cellar and say, I think I want to shift up. I really want this particular wine. We will fully customize to what you want in your release of wines.
And if there's a handful of states where you can't ship alcohol to, but other than those states, you anyone in the country can be part of the wine society, your cellar society.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is the beautiful thing is, there are people that want to try amazing, like you're a Pinot house, we'll talk about it in a second. But if they've never been to Oregon, but they want to get to know Pinots, that would be a great thing to join your cellar society. And if someone has lived in Oregon and they miss Oregon wine, that's another great reason. People in Oregon join, obviously, but I want to make it clear people outside of Oregon can join and enjoy amazing Oregon wine.
Absolutely.
And when I did the podcast with your winemaker, it was funny how I knew that I wanted to do the podcast with you because he was so passionate about the wine and the dirt and the grapes. And I loved his passion. I loved his podcast. I loved his wine. But I'm sitting in this beautiful space going, well, who's the champion of this space? Because I wanted to celebrate both. It's like, oh, Jennifer, of course, has helped make the magic happen. So anyways, that's part of the reason I loved him and I loved his wine. But wow, you championed this space. I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but it just was so striking to me. I'm in this beautiful space and this guy's all about the grapes and the dirt. Bless his heart, as he should be.
And he makes great wine.
He does, and that's how I do want my winemaker like that. But I want great wine, and I want a great space to come check it out. Kind of both. And then another fun thing, this to me, so you've got like the front area, and then we're kind of like in a back area. It's really pretty. I would love to have like a reception here. When I was in the banking, some muckety muck would fly in and be 15 or 20 of us invited for a little get together, and we'd all come to a space like this for some wine, and then we'd go some fancy place for dinner. And I always loved those. I'm weird. I loved wearing a suit and tie. I thought that was just a blast. It's possible that people could contact you and do small kind of private gatherings?
Absolutely. Yeah. We really want to keep it a little more of an intimate experience. So no full blown out big rager parties. We want to have an opportunity for people to sit down and enjoy the wine and each other's company. So we have about 30 people could fit into the area, and we want to be able to cater to whatever their goals are for getting together.
Yeah, and so someone can just reach out and they can say, hey, and see if it's a good fit. But I just think this would be a great space to have. And actually I have not been here at night, but I bet it's absolutely beautiful with the lighting and the brick. It's stunning. And, and just, if you do come here, please bring your camera because there are amazing things to take photo of. It's just really pretty. Or as my son would say, it's good for the gram. Okay, so Pinot House. So talk to me about what does that mean for those that don't know that you're a Pinot House?
So Erath has been one of the pioneering wineries in the Oregon wine industry. We've made several different varieties over the year, but what we've really come down to is focusing on Pinot Noir. We feel that this grape thrives here in Oregon, and we really do a great job of showcasing Pinot Noir. We make a few other varietals, Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, Chardonnay, but if there's one wine that we really shine on, it is going to be Pinot Noir.
And so if someone comes here and they are going to get a flight, now you've been, 2010, we're 2021 now, so 11, 12 years now of flights under your belt. And so at any given time, there's 6 wines in a flight. Generally, and if someone gets here and there's 5 or 7, don't give me grief. Change happens occasionally, but generally 6 wines, and usually 3 to 5 of those will be Pinots, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And it always changes, but I kind of want people's expectation. Like I really want to check out Oregon Pinots, this is a great place to come.
This is the place to come.
Okay, I like that. And by the way, just as a tangent, people ask me all the time, do I have a favorite this or favorite that? Do you have a favorite kind of wine that you love?
Well, it is like stars in the sky, so I have to pick my favorite one. I'm a sparkling girl. I go to sparkling pretty much as often as I can, but I can't not work in a Pinot house and not say that I don't love Pinot because there's so many great expressions of the grape.
Oh, I know you love Pinot, but sparkling is kind of that fun, that fun thing.
It's there's so many great applications for it, and it's always good. And there's always a bottle in my fridge. Yeah,
there's a book I have on my list to get when it comes out. Sparkling Wine Anytime by Catherine Cole. I haven't met her. I hope she's wonderful. I want to interview her. I want to talk to her about her sparkling book. Okay, so your Pinots. We're gonna try one of your Pinots. Tell me about this wine that we're gonna try.
Yeah, so we have our Erath Oregon Pinot Noir. This is our cornerstone to our portfolio. This Pinot Noir is an expression of Oregon. It's, I would say, our winemaker showing us just the beauty of Pinot Noir. It's fruit forward. It has lots of delicate fruit qualities to it, but really meant to showcase what Oregon Pinot Noir really should be.
This is amazing. It is ridiculous. One of the things I'm sure you've heard the horrible old, I guess it's a dad joke now. Do you cook with wine? Yes. And sometimes I put it in the food. But I do. I love having that chance just to visit with someone and have a glass of wine. And this is kind of one of those obnoxious kind of wines for me because, I think I could just afternoon, I'm alone, I've got a good book, I can just have a glass of this and just enjoy it just like that. Mm-hmm. I could get together with friends and I can have it perfectly with some appetizers and enjoy it that way. It's really, really flexible. You have 3 or 4 bottles of this. I haven't found a wrong time to enjoy this.
No, super versatile.
I've had this Pinot sitting literally on the Oregon coast, just enjoying it, out watching the waves. It's phenomenal there. That's what I mean when I say obnoxious, because it's just so flexible. There's some, for me in my own journey, and I won't name names, but some varietals that only fit in certain experiences. And that's how I have found to enjoy them. And I don't want to dictate people enjoy in any way they want, but there's a few handful of varietals that to me just fit everywhere. And your guys' Pinot fits into that category. But I love wine and food. What are some pairings that for you that would, for people that don't know, if you're a wine aficionado, I know you already know what to do with it. I know you know better than us what to do with it, and that's A-okay. But if someone is newer to wine, what are some suggestions you'd throw out to them?
Well, this wine is a classic Oregon Pinot Noir, and I think that going and staying classical is spot on. Classic pairings with Pinot: salmon dishes, light barbecue dishes, mushroom-based dishes. These all, they work, and they work for a reason. That it's just great pairings. Yeah,
I do. I love salmon. Salmon and Pinot is phenomenal. We're very blessed in the Northwest. Mm-hmm. And what's a kind of an unconventional for you pairing?
Well, I do love to explore food and wine pairings, and one that I've been just marveling about lately is blue cheese and Pinot Noir. Never really was a pairing that I would have thought about until I started getting a lot more into wine and cheese pairings. But blue cheese and Pinot Noir just surprised me and turned out to be probably one of my more favorite ways to end a meal nowadays.
Yes, exactly. Growing up, I had an uncle who lived in Morgan Hill, California. He worked for IBM, and I'd go from Southern California 2 different summers when I was like 12 and 13 and hang out with he and his wife for a couple weeks. And I got to see Shakespeare for the first time in my life. And they began every meal, they had with wine, and it was a whole different world to me. And they would close with cheese and wine every dinner. Every dinner had that. It was like a whole new world for me. And cheese and wine, I mean, some people in some cultures in America, like they've never heard of such a thing. But yeah, blue cheese and wine to end a meal is fantastic. And, there are a lot of good blue cheeses. There's a lot of good blue cheeses in Oregon. But one of my favorites, near and dear to my heart, Rogue Creamery. And I fall in love with people, and then sometimes I fall in love with their food. And Dave Gremmels is a wonderful human being. My son Zach and I did a podcast episode with him telling his journey. And world-class, best cheese in the world. So it's lucky for me that not only is he amazing, but his cheese is literally the best in the world. And some of that good Rogue Blue with Erath Pinot, that's good. I'm happy. I am happy.
Me too.
Well, it has been a delight to have you on the podcast. Jennifer, I wish you all the success in the world here at Erath, your tasting room right here in Portland. If anyone's listening to this podcast and they want to see photos of this space, they want more details, just go to culinarytreasure.com. We have our website up and have all the details, or they can just Google Erath and go right to your guys' website. You have everything you need there. But please, when you come, bring an open heart. Bring a smile, bring a camera, a phone, so you can take photos. No one has cameras these days. See how old I am. But bring your phone, be ready to take photos, be ready to relax, have a beautiful pairing, have some incredible bites, have a glass after that, and then take a case home of wine home. I think that's the perfect afternoon or evening, don't you think?
It sure is.
Can't help it. I can't help it. I'm a fan. I love this space. I love the passion you bring to it. Again, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Steve.
All right. Cheers.